From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, staying up late to watch Star Wars and life itself. I'm Ken Knapsack.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm full of Maul and got a squirrel mug, so I'm ready to go.
I watched a squirrel throw up this morning. Poor little guy.
I feel like I want to start doing an impression of that, but I'm not going to. Again, super chat for $5,000. I'll do an impression of a squirrel throwing up.
That's the kind of pandering we do. Do you want to see Joseph reenact the lives of squirrels? And you have experience playing squirrels on stage, so that would be where you draw from.
I do. I'll go get the costume. It's in the closet right now. I'll have some questions off here about the squirrel and what exactly that looked like.
It was awesome, actually. It was like watching a nature doc. Hey, everybody. We're here to talk some Star Wars news, and we do mean that. We're going to talk some news around Maul Shadow Lord, also maybe some stuff after that, but we have a lot to talk about around that Maul news because also last night, Maul Shadow Lord dropped, and Justin and I are going to share our first impressions. We're not going to go too deep. We're going to share our experiences watching it, share maybe some of your comments. But the deep dive, Joseph, is tomorrow, and we have, I guess it's a bit of an announcement. I got a nice graphic ready to go. So
good. Yes. We realized that we wanted to give a little bit more attention to Maul, and for years and years we've called our review shows the whatever report, whatever show it was. And it's been such a fun thing that we've seen other people in the space doing, of really giving a special name to their coverage. So we thought about, like, what do we love about this show and its inspiration? So we came up with a special name for our review shows that are going to be dropping on Tuesday. And that name is Maul and the Curse of Himself. Bum, 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 bum. This will be our deep dive review show that we love doing here on ForceCenter, getting into all of the big themes and ideas that impacted us, but also talking about all the fun moments, spending some time just dreaming about what might come next in the show. So please, everybody, check out Maul and the Curse of Himself.
Boom, boom, boom. Theme song has to play every time we talk about it. And to Will McClay's question, no, not a wordplay show. Not a wordplay show. No disrespect against any wordplay or pun-related shows in the Star Wars space.
We're going to have some special episode to just clear up all of the wordplay versus pun. Yes. Thought about that name because I love the serial aspect that they're pushing. I thought that they came through with that in the show. And I love, as so many people have been discussing, and we'll discuss more today and in all the reviews, how much Maul's story is a story of tragedy, where he could probably, as much as the world has done awful things to him, he could make better choices, but he can't get out of his own way. It's just fascinating.
Fascinating indeed. Yes. And absolutely. Can't wait to dive in deep. We'll share some first reactions and some of yours here right now. I do want to take care of a little bit of business. We are sponsored by our own merch shop, Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store there. Pick up a t-shirt to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. We might have to find a way to add this show title as a shirt or a logo in the galaxy. So you can just have coffee while everyone's like, what's going on there? Maul! And he's cursed by himself. I think it would be great. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Other business on the way. We got something to highlight and an update on Jen. All that coming through Joseph's wonderful, eloquent mouth right now.
We'll see how I do. It might be marbles in the mouth Monday. Yes. So we go back and forth with the kind of goals we want to highlight. This is such a valuable time for a Star Wars talking show with a new show in Maul, and I think an animated show that might bring in some people who haven't maybe watched as many of the animated shows. And with Mando and Grogu coming out, anytime there's a trailer, it bumps up our numbers. Anytime we're talking about a new television show or movie, it bumps up our numbers. So we're going to make a specific Patreon goal. And we understand money's really hard and really unpredictable for people. So there's zero pressure, but it's hard and unpredictable for us too. So we're going to make a Patreon goal of, we would love to get to 400 paid subscribers by the time Mando and Grogu releases. So could be $2 if you can afford that. But we would love to get some more paid subscribers, which also means more community in the Discord, more people calling in for our Friday live call shows. So that's our new goal. 400 paid subscribers by the time of Mando and Grogu. Also, want to give a quick bit of business update. People have had some very nice comments about our Maul and the Curse of Himself show title. Gaz Nottingham says, sounds like the greatest unused Hammer horror title. I love Hammer horror, so I would really, really take that as a compliment. David says, Maul has taken Jen's place. Yes. So in the circle of names on that graphic, a circle of heads, I put sad Maul in there from the moment in Rebels where Ezra's looking away from him and Maul is depressed because he knows Ezra's not going to come with him. It's the saddest moment of Maul that I could find. And yes, we talked with Jen. She's got all sorts of stuff going on with school and with family, and sadly she's not going to be able to join us for the Maul review show. So yes, on the graphic, Maul has taken Jen's place, but certainly not in our hearts. Anything else to add there, Ken?
No, we hope to have Jed back for some of the news shows, maybe May 4th, stuff like that. But we did, we're in contact with Jed, which seems like that's very sterile. We're in contact with Jed now. She's one of our longtime friends, but just things are good. Things are also hectic. Things are also stressful. So Star Wars had to take a little second position with the Maul show. But she sent her regards, as we always say, and we'll be back as soon as she can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're going to talk about our big picture Maul reactions, right, Ken?
Yeah, and just our experience and super chat coming in from our friend Mumbo Jimbo. Wait, did something Star Wars related happen in the past 24 hours? Hopefully there aren't any spoilers on this stream. Love ya, K and J. Just want to send them some love. Come to Rebel ScumCon. I have seen Rebel ScumCon. No one has invited us yet. We'll try to we'll get to the con circuit. We'll try to avoid spoilers and in chat as well. Not everyone's had the chance to see the show, and that's one of the reasons we've decided to dive in deeper on Tuesdays. And we always, talk about our experiences. So, Joseph, I made the decision to stay up to midnight, and not only that, yesterday alone. Well, okay, actually, a little bit of Saturday as well. I watched the last 3 episodes of Clone Wars Season 7. Mm-hmm. I watched Twilight of the Apprentice, Parts 1 and 2, which are great episodes. Right? Great episodes. And then Twin Sons. And then from 11:10 to about midnight, I just put on Phantom Menace. So I was in the Maul mood, sat down and watched shows. I do love the episodes. There's a lot to talk about in terms of themes and deep dives, and more here to say in this segment. But I will say, sadly, because maybe I'm approaching an age of oldness, I fell asleep about 3 times during the first 2 episodes, not for the show, just in that thing where you're like, oh, suddenly I'm Gandalf sleeping, my eyes are wide open, but then I go, oh, I've missed the last 8 minutes and try to catch up. So I'm waiting for a alert rewatch tonight, but love what I saw.
That is great. I had a similar prep weekend. I watched all of Maul's animated appearances, which it's amazing. The shadow looms large, but it's between Clone Wars and Rebels. I think it's 13 episodes total, if you don't count the image where Mother Talzin shows the shattered crystal ball image of Maul to Savage Opress. I really, really enjoyed doing that. It so got me in the Maul spirit. It got me in the Maul headspace, which was both fun. And I found myself quite angry a lot this weekend. I was like, might be that, just power diving into Maul land that I got to balance out. On Saturday, I went to see a screening of the Sesame Street movie, Follow That Bird. And it felt like I need a little bit of time with Big Bird to offset the time with Maul, because it's so beautifully intense. I reread Son of Dathomir, which I think is sort of criminally underread, underseen, underdiscussed. It's a bummer that didn't get produced in a more elaborate way, but I think it's really important to Maul's headspace of some of the losses he incurred, introduction of Rook Cast, all that. So last night, same thing. I was so happy to go back to the tradition. The midnight drop in 3 a.m. for people on the East Coast is a bummer for me, because I feel bad of people's schedule and all that. But it was fun to reconnect to those early days of Disney Plus, where everybody was staying up on midnight and sending out their, I'm ready, here's my setup for watching. It's really fun to go back to that. So I did my normal traditional setup, Ken, of getting appropriate action figures and a cocktail, and taking a little picture, which I posted on Blue Sky. And then I that's like, hey, that's fun, and there's some promotion to it. But I always turn the action figures around and make them watch the show. And it just suddenly had this sort of like, I have my new Maul Shadow Lord action figure, and it's like, you know what? Maul needs a chaperone. So I also got out one of my Kenobi figures and made Maul watch the show with Kenobi to keep himself well behaved. So that was my sort of ritual. Yeah, I was tired, but those episodes woke me up. I loved the sort of the speed and intensity of like they're just cut a little faster. That commitment to a sense of movement is in the editing. It is in the the graphics that have been discussed much about having a little bit more of that sort of hand painted over the digital, but so much of that hand painted contributes to just a sense of motion. So I thought that was one of my favorite things about the episodes, is just like the way they looked and the way they felt.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we always make the joke that we did during Bad Batch of the show's beautiful. We're gonna get tired of saying that, and I think that's gonna be the case here. But beyond that, it's a testament to where we are with how they're making these shows and presenting these shows. That the movements of their faces, the movements of their eyes, is so lifelike, and I'm blown away by it. Especially as someone who's been in and around the animation industry, with some of my friends being in it for years, my old roommates, that I just watched the medium and the art form get better and better and better with what you can accomplish. And going back to, the Clone Wars movie, it is what it is in terms of they were still figuring that all out, and to go from that to this is part of the fun experience. Like, there's just a lot of times last night where I was like, wow, I mean, I could see the eyes. I could feel the eyes. And Bad Batch was great. And season 7 of Clone Wars, spectacular. Watching the Maul Ahsoka fight and how they pulled that off. So that's just a technical achievement. Beyond that, though, yeah, I agree with you. The speed, pace is not the right word, because pace gets kind of there's a mangled definition of pacing out there that sometimes I get lost in the debate on, as you can clearly see. But I think just the speed of the show, the action, the brutality. This is definitely a show aged up a bit, and I think that's a good thing. Much like the toy industry's like, screw it, this ain't for kids. I think Maul going, hey, we get it. It's not necessarily just for 7-year-olds anymore.
It has 18 points of emotional articulation.
Yes. It does. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of the animation means that I think the writers, the directors, the animators can use just more nuance to tell the story than like was literally available to them in early seasons of Clone Wars. Like, there's so much no spoilers on the page. There's a real light touch about the relationship between Rook Kast and Maul, but the nuance level of the animation lets volumes be said in animation the way it can be with live action actors, which I thought was fascinating.
Yes. There's some very intimate directing choices that can be made, right? With I forget Dennis Haysberd's character's name, Jedi Master
Iko Diodaki.
Iko
Diodaki. Yeah, Iko Diodaki.
Sounds like we've just cursed someone in some sort of D&D game. But, there are a couple times where he's just leaning up against the wall, and the story's all in his eyes. It's just like, God, this is the fact that they get to do this now. Animation has always been near and dear to our hearts, but I understand the pecking order of just the entertainment world. But they have achieved some great stuff here. But again, that's just the look, the feel, the direction of the show. I think what it covered is pretty fascinating to really, really take a deep dive into the criminal underworld stuff. We'll dive in deep with the themes and everything tomorrow, but without a doubt, seeing it kind of connected to crime stories of the past. Alex put on his review that I was watching this morning, the connections to Dark Knight and the opening heist. And a lot of us saw that coming just based on the trailer and piecing some things together, but I think it was executed perfectly. And I love kind of spending time in this underworld.
Yeah, me too. Wanted to share this from Mumbo Jimbo saying he felt they were pretty slow moving in so far as plot, which is what I thought would happen. So I anticipate this to be a very self-contained narrative, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, I think this is not a criticism to me. It's just a reality. Because we are all in Star Wars fans and we spent 8 hours and several weeks discussing 2-minute trailer, we kind of knew what to expect with some of these characters and the way that they were set up and how they were set up. So I think to me, it's natural for all in fans to be like, cool. This is kind of all what we were told we'd get and what would expect. But I still felt within that we met a lot of characters. There was a lot of nuance within the characters. There was a lot of forward movement. There was a lot of track laid for the future. And I think for me, about some of that sort of sense of movement and energy that I was talking about is I thought the shows did a great job of making the audience feel what they wanted the audience to feel when they wanted to feel it. There were slower moments, and there was some like doling out of the plot, and this great choice, I think, to have Maul be a little lower, a little calmer. I feel like Maul is like, this is the beginning of Stairway to Heaven, and we can't start at the end of Stairway to Heaven, the Zeppelin song that is famously, the entire song is a crescendo. So I like that he's lightly humming the opening bars of Stairway to Heaven so he can get up to the crescendo. But also just like when there was action scenes, I think I felt like what the people being attacked by screaming Night Brothers with massive repeating blasters felt because of the way it was cut, because it was all this energy coming at you. So like when the show wanted to go to 110 degrees, it did, and it made you feel it. And I think that is part of the execution that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive in deeper on that tomorrow on our Maul show, but you just hit on something I think I was enjoying on a subconscious level. Again, because I did fall asleep 3 times. Also yesterday in the 11 o'clock hour, I finally gave up and raised the font size on my phone. Last night was a very old hour. Falling asleep through TV, and now I can see my phone. Having watched Phantom Menace between like 11 and midnight my time, and when we first meet him, where he's first speaking with Peter Serafinowicz, doing the voiceover there, you know, it is kind of a calm Maul. He is speaking softly and hoping to carry a big stick. And I love where we get to him. I love Spider Leg Crazy Maul. Just watching the way we're placing him during Rebels, you're right. He's all over the spot because it's Maul. He is the weapon. He is the violence. He is a little out there sometimes. He also is a great manipulator. The stuff with Ezra that's so quiet. But I so the series started, and I had the same kind of reaction. I love you bringing in Stairway to Heaven. I also had a little bit of the song Stars by the band Hum, where it's just quietly, she thinks she's missed the train to Mars, but she's out back counting stars. And by the end of it, they're just screaming that, right? I think you and I should only talk Star Wars in terms of songs, because I really felt that this is Maul's a man with a plan, and he is kind of in full control of his own capacities and capabilities right now, which is an interesting thing to watch and spend time with this version of Maul and how that related to when we first meet him. So, great point. Yeah. Can't wait to dive in deeper tomorrow.
Yeah, look, if we want to go into songs, look, Maul doing Patience by Guns N' Roses. I think that's, yeah.
There you go.
I shed a tear because I'm missing you. It's still all right to smile.
It's not quite the song November Rain, but it's the video to November Rain.
November Rain does build. Jeannie from Tahini says, I felt like every single word Maul said was so intense. That guy is 10-10 revenge mindset 24/7. I really, really agree with that. I think it's just like literally like the performance was like held back. That intensity is there. And it's almost like he's holding it back and trying to be like slow, calm, master plan. But he wants to explode, and he does explode a little bit in those moments of violence.
Sure.
You know?
Do you think he's having like shower arguments later on, where he's just like yelling at people?
God, yes. Oh, man, yeah. I'm sure he has to, put some ointment on his abdomen where his body meets the mechanical, and there's so much anger while he's putting on that ointment. Yeah.
We're gonna. Go ahead.
Eddie Moore says I could see Maul doing some Nick Cave. Amen. Red right hand.
We're going to share some of your reactions here before we dive into Star Wars news. But Alex, Star Wars Explained says, can I increase the font on my phone to read scripts? Definitely put it back to standard, but I'm not recording, but the day's coming. It came fast in the last 3 weeks. I've had contacts for years. For the last 3 weeks, I can't read menus. I can't read the backs of baseball cards for my ASMR channel. It's a mess.
Yeah. I have one other big picture question for you, Ken. Like, I think for me, the biggest picture, there's so much about the character of Maul and the animation style, but just that the fact that the mood is so different, that it is noir, it is detective. The entire thing has I know we have a literal, what appears to be a divorced dad, but the whole thing has sad divorced dad energy of the rules all changed, everything changed, and it's not as good. How does life work now? I feel like where everybody's at emotionally. But like, I really had a moment watching it where, I think this is as much as eyesight, this is also a part of getting older, is thinking about what you would have thought. Like, I also had my 1999 Sith Lord cap with me. It's like, I would have died for super intense, edgy, violent action Maul animated show in 1999. I couldn't have even believed that it was happening. But then at the same time, I had that, like, Darth Maul is starring in a reboot of NYPD Blue. Darth Maul is in a cop procedural from the 1990s. And I love that. But I was curious if you had any sort of, like, Star Wars needs to keep pulling in different genres, pulling in more modern references and inspirations than the ones that George pulled from. But how did you feel in those moments where it's just like, is this riffing on Castle in his morning coffee from, that procedural in the 2000s, the 2010s? Like,
No, what's his name? Dennis, the NYPD Blue guy. He's going to show his butt.
Dennis Franz, yeah.
Dennis Franz, thank you. Thank you. My 90s brain was failing me. Yes, I'm actually glad you brought that up. It's something to explore tomorrow as well, as we keep teasing our deep dive tomorrow. But Brander Lawson's a great character. I think a lot of people are expecting. I didn't read the prequel comic. I know Alex and Molly said that the presentation of that character in the comic was slightly different in the show, at least at this point, and in the show's run. So I don't have that experience or perspective, but I was surprised a little bit of just how one-to-one it is. And I'm like, yeah, I think I mean that in a good way. And it really sunk in. The coffee, his Tubot, his droid friend, Two Boots, faking having coffee, great stuff.
It's so funny.
Somewhere Timothy Zahn's going, hot chocolate isn't in Star Wars, or is, but it's no longer. It was when his boss came in. When his boss, I forget her name, and she's like breaking down, or they're talking. I was like, oh, this is what a Star Wars crime drama with noir and horror elements should be. And I'm with you. I was pulled in by that specific moment, going, oh, we are doing the McGarnagle bring your badge stuff, which could be interesting when you're telling a story about Maul, and also in this time in the Empire. We have the stuff going on early on Andor with Cyril Karn and all the things going on there. But this is going to be, I think, a similar vibe in terms of what's going on in Star Wars lore at this time in the actual state of the galaxy. But it's going to be fun to see on screen. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think I felt like I hope to see live action Star Wars go even farther in these directions that animated has been, of like, to the Star Wars aesthetic and mood and values and ideas are also powerful that you can very, very liberally pull in different genres and place them in the Star Wars context, and it will still feel like Star Wars, and it will still feel unique and interesting. And I was really kind of gobsmacked of like how much this works, that it is NYPD Blue with Maul. It's a pleasant surprise to me.
And then Maddie Morner has one question. Do we think we get a Dexter's diner scene between Maul and Lawson, like Pacino and De Niro in Heat? Do we get the confrontation? I hope so, Maddie.
Oh, it feels like it's going in that direction of let's make deals. Let's make deals.
Some of your thoughts out there. Maddie also says, bit good this show, isn't it? So there you go. You know what I mean? Scott says, love the first two episodes of Maul Shadow Lord. A+++ stuff. Dig the animation, dig the action. Very cool. Will Dixon's is off to a fun start. The background styling, the saber effects all have been a cool artistic choice. When can I get my 3 3/4 Eco Digo Daki? Dig his vibe. Yes, really dig the vibe. Agree with that.
Is great. Yeah.
Scott also says Ludi Vario and the Spybot were hilarious. Spybot early winner for me as well. Seriously, so much fun. Rook Cash shooting those wire devices that took the police out vehicle was brutal and fantastic. So many cool characters. And Doxson just says Maul Shadow Lord was excellent. Everyone was surprisingly likable, and I actually, get that as well.
I think MSL, I'm sure that will become a standard, initializing of it, but I'm so used to seeing PSL for pumpkin spice latte that I read that as Maul Spice Latte. Maul Spice Latte was quite good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. We're going to take a break from the show Maul by talking about the future of the show Maul as we get into our news stories. The big news of the week is Maul renewed for season 2. This is from the press release put out by StarWars.com. Not only will Maul have his revenge, his journey will continue with the second season of Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. Ahead of the series premiere, creator and executive producer Dave Filoni has announced the continuation of Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord with confirmation of season 2 in the works from Lucasfilm Animation. Season 1 debuts on Disney Plus. We know that part. Ken, we always talk about the show and the business, that there's the creative, and then sometimes on the new show we really also do end up talking about the business side of it. Why do you think that Lucasfilm made this announcement now, given that with the workflow of animation, season 2 was already greenlit and in progress?
Yeah, a while ago, right? Which, by the way, it's easy to make a joke now that Dave's just like, I'm going to prove my own shows here or something like that. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, I'm sure he has to say now more than ever, but yes, like you said, this was probably in the works 2 or 3 years ago. I don't actually have that answer other than I'm happy about it, right? It's just kind of in this age of streaming and I guess a post, but still in it streaming world where so much of things are, uncertain and so many seasons are one and done. And there's sometimes some nefarious business reasons behind it and shows are erased. It's nice just to have this kind of happen. This also happened with Night of the Seven Kingdoms over in the Game of Thrones world. We're like, we're already doing 2 and already got one behind that. And you can kind of settle in as a fan. Will this get past the 3-season mark, which, as we've talked about before, has a lot to do with business, has a lot to do. You have to start paying people more after 3 seasons. So sometimes that's why you see a lot of shows, especially in the live action world, change out cast and change out writers and all that kind of stuff, or rebrand the show. Maul Shadow Lord Summer Vacation technically counts as a new show, so they don't have to pay new rates after 3 seasons. So all that kind of business stuff aside, I think it's just it allows me to kind of settle in a little bit as a fan.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is to give confidence to people who are thinking of checking out the show. To the general audience, it's another way to grab some headlines and make noise. I think for all in fans, I think it changes the way that we talk about it. A lot of people took the the episode title of season 1 being listed as finale is, it's only 1 season. It changes how we all talk about it. Right? Because as we go on and talking, we're going to talk about, well, what do we want to see in future seasons? The road for speculating is much more wide open if we don't spend half of our time gnashing our teeth about whether or not there's going to be a second season. So I think it's a good way to encourage the Star Wars talking community to talk about it more and talk about it more substantively. Yeah,
I would hope. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we'll say tomorrow again, we'll read it. Now, we are not one of the shows that got the 8-episode screeners. Glad all the folks did. So we are pure in our prediction, hopes, and thoughts as we discuss it going forward.
Yep. Dachshund, I think, also makes a great point of good reassurance that if you start the show that you won't get the rug yanked out from under you. Yes, in the streaming era, that is very, very important. James Farley says, commenting on the beginning of the StarWars.com press release, not only will Maul have his revenge, I mean, will he though? I think he gets some. He already got some in these episodes, but will he get it all? So Ken, now that we do get to speculate about season 2, having only seen for us 2 episodes of season 1, what are your hopes for season 2? What does it open up for you? Does that open up your thoughts about great, longer arc for Devin. Does that open up your thoughts about a bigger time jump between seasons? Where does your not even your like market predictions, but your hopes and dreams, where do they go?
Well, Joseph, I just want to maximize shareholder value. It's all I really want out of my art. I went straight to the character of Devin. I went straight there, and we can talk about some of the other stuff behind that maybe. But we know Maul and his story so well, and as someone pointed out in chat, and something I think was maybe Mumbo Jimbo, we'll point it out tomorrow in our review, I'm sure, is some of the other. This is a story that's Maul, but we have a lot of other people's perspective of who this man, creature, and legend is, and I think that is fascinating. But also, I think that makes a second season or beyond even more important to their journeys. I'm immediately intrigued by Brander Lawson, the single divorced dad trying to make it work, whose maybe ex-girlfriend is also one of his informants. Who knows? We're gonna find out. I think it's intriguing, and Devin. There's so many places to take that character, a potential Maul apprentice. I want that to have time, so that's where I go. And to your question as well about the time jump, I'd like a little bit of a time jump, much like I think we're all used to growing up. Bad Batch did this, but the Seinfeld ends, and then the next season. Well, that's actually wholly. They didn't care about that stuff, but you know what I mean. Where like everyone went away for the summer. When we came back, time had passed. I like that with shows. I want a little bit of a time jump.
Yeah, Cheers did that. Yeah,
Cheers
for sure.
did that.
It's a great way to reset. Yeah, I mean, I thought about Devin immediately because I know we've had lots of discussions about, is making his character Twi'lek a tease for the possibility of a Darth Talon-esque character. And I think a lot of us felt like, well, if it's one and done, maybe this season is her arc. But now it feels like, oh, we got lots of room for her to play with. I can convince myself that I'm kind of his apprentice, but not really. And I'm not really using the dark side. I'm just toying with it and go on a nice, juicy arc with that. It also just made me think about, like, there is a tendency in Star Wars to give a show a title of the central character, the glue in the middle, but it's really an ensemble show. And I feel like Andor is an ensemble show. I feel like Ahsoka is an ensemble show. I think Bad Batch was a little bit more centered on the core group, but it still did here's an episode about Hera's childhood, and a longer show with multiple seasons made me really excited to be like, oh, wow, Brander Lawson might become some people's favorite Star Wars character as we go on a long journey with him. Rook Cast might get developed into, the Asajj Ventress of her day. Like, who could she become, So we'll get Spybot's backstory. There's so many possibilities. And also just for the Maul of it, we all know that he is doomed to repeat his mistakes.
Yeah.
But with a longer arc, how close does he get to real connection with Devin, with Rook Cast? How incredibly tragically close. And I feel like it could be similar to Anakin in the Clone Wars, where his tragedy works in just the prequel films, but it is more tragic when you see the depth of his connection to Obi-Wan and Padme and Ahsoka and how many off-ramps he had. And I would love to get Maul to that place where, like, he's so close to making a better choice.
It's part of the tragedy and the heartbreak of this character that's developed over the years. Yeah, I like how you phrased it as off-ramps, here's a chance. Here's a chance. You could get out of this war. You could get out of it, but you're not going to take it. And there's lessons to be learned for us as an audience in that.
Yes. So last question about the season 2 announcement. Would you want the show to last many, many seasons and take us all the way up to Maul's stranding on Malachor? Or do you have some sort of hesitation to filling in the Maul map too much?
I have some hesitation, but I want a lot of ground covered. Not to sound like an executive up there making decisions based on pay rates and union rules, but I kind of like 3 seasons and done. It's kind of fits into my life a little bit better. I don't need this to be a long run in show. Clone Wars seven seasons over the course of time, but 5 during its prime time was a lot. But that was also bigger episodes, numbers, of course. So yeah, it could go on and on and on if they got the stories. I think that's the right answer. As long as the stories are good, keep going. But there's something to be said about covering some ground in this era, and then just kind of seeing where you want to go with some of the stuff. And I guess maybe that's code for me of let's have Maul and Kira in live action and figure all that out in some other way, shape, or form. But I don't have a lot of hope for that. So I would like to see a lot of the ground covered. And having just watched that Rebels episode where we meet old man Maul on Malachor, I'm very intrigued to get some of those answers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, yes, I have a lot of interesting thoughts about where Maul's head is at after rewatching those Rebels episodes and wondering how long he was stranded on Malachor, who did it, where his obviously he wants to use the Sith power on that temple in Malachor, as he says specifically, to get all his enemies. So nice open-ended list. He zeroes in on Kenobi. But yeah, I think I want the show to go on for as long as it needs to tell its story. And I think if it spirals into this is an ensemble show, great. I don't want to be in a rush. I know a lot of people are like, their immediate reaction is Kira in this? Are we going to see him get stranded on Malachor? And I really want those answers as well. But I almost want I don't want to be in a rush to get to Kira and to get to Malachor. I want this story to take its time to play out. It's the same way like the Clone Wars lasted 3 seasons and we got it for Revenge of the Sith, so be it. But I'm really grateful for the amount of expanse and the new characters and ideas that we met in that animated show. And I would be really happy to have that happen. And if they want to do the 3 and then reboot, like do 3, then do a time jump and do Kira, do another 3 episode season about Kira and Maul at the height of Crimson Dawn, and leave a little bit on the table when it comes to Kira.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with the taking of the time. And I'm someone that does want to rush to some of those bigger answers. I get it. It's fun. I like when the map is filled in. But I think this comes a little bit from, I guess, book and comic side, which sounds like I'm taking swipes, and I'm not, because I love those mediums and have been moved by many of those things in Star Wars publishing over the last 10, 12 years. But, so much ground got covered. So much ground. And there was, I think Jason Aaron was recently saying, I couldn't believe some of the stuff they let us get away with when the first comics kind of first launched in 2014 again. Like we were just like, how about this? They're like, yeah, great. It was almost like we were over here doing our thing. And I think that's great. And it was great for the comics, but with someone like Maul, just let's have a different approach to it, maybe.
Yeah. Let Maul breathe a little bit. We got this kind super chat from Alan Smithy. Super chats are not needed, but they're greatly appreciated. Alan Smithy says, Clone Wars is some of my favorite Star Wars, so I can't wait to watch the Maul show. Will Savage Press or Ventress have a cameo, flashback, perhaps? Yeah, I mean, I think Ventress could absolutely have a cameo. I think it could have an appearance because I think she presents a great contrast to Maul. She's somebody who went through some of the exact same tortures, has the same home, a different aspect of it on Dathomir, but took the off-ramp. And is not stuck the way Maul is. So I think she'd be a fascinating character to have. In terms of flashbacks to Savage Press, I would love if the show did find a way to remind viewers how much Maul has lost. And I think a show that wants us to have sympathy for him would probably do well to remind us that Sidious killed his brother and his mom, and relatively recently. And I think a flashback is one way to do that,
I agree with that. As far as Ventress, I still think, obviously I think there's the words of Nico Fetterman that there's more to come, all that kind of stuff. And we had the tales of, I think they want to, right? It has that feeling of Ventress will return. But I don't know if this is a series, but it could, intertwine and pop off to other things. I'd be excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to even more Maul. Filoni talked Maul in an Esquire magazine, and so did some other people in the creative process. This article in Esquire magazine is all about Maul. Great quotes with Filoni, showrunner Matt Michenovitz, I'm pulling these quotes that were collected by Star Wars News Net. Didn't have a chance myself to read the entire Esquire article, so these are just the ones that Star Wars News Net kindly pulled. Here is Filoni on Maul coming back to life in the Clone Wars. Filoni says, Maul was a character that George wanted to bring back in the Clone Wars, and I thought that'd be very difficult since he cut him in half. But George was very confident that I would find a way to make that justifiable. At the end of the day, people like that character, so they kind of will it back into existence as long as it comes back in a form that they enjoy. In Clone Wars, Maul thinks he can prove himself and then return to his rightful place at the side of the Emperor. He thinks he can become this guy again and that the Emperor was wrong. So lots of great stuff in there, but I really want to focus on the way Filoni is talking about bringing Maul back. Is he's not going out of his way. He's not doing flips to say, oh, the way we brought him back was really cool. He's saying people don't care how we brought him back because people love him and what we did with him. So my question to you, Ken, is do people forgive, in quotes, the way Maul returned because of how great the character is in the Clone Wars and Rebels?
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. And you and I and others have spoken about Spider-Leg Maul for years, and we'll continue to talk about it and occasionally make jokes about it. It's a weird choice. It's weird. Even when you describe it or when you saw it in a toy aisle, it's weirder than that. And weird isn't bad, right? Keep Star Wars weird is something I think Pablo Hidalgo used to put out there online a lot. Like, I think there's some truth to it. I think I think just it's I mean, when you really pull back, it is bonkers. We make the jokes all the time and the references to George stopping Dave in a hallway and saying Maul's back, figure it out. And then this is what they come up with, but really it's the why behind it. It's really that immediately starts pulling you in when you really analyze that episode and you listen to Morley and Maul and all this stuff going on. It's a great use of why. It's a great use of what if. And I think people I think the spider leg thing is almost not forgotten. You know what I mean? Where it's a little overlooked. It's not doesn't come up a lot in conversations. What comes up is Maul now and Maul where he is.
It comes up in shock when people are like, Maul, oh, I didn't know he returned. Yeah. Oh, let me check this out. Spider legs. And as I said recently, I've come to peace with spider legs. People forget also big ass spider butt.
That's
whole
true.
lower body of spider, not just 8 legs. So we say spider. Darth Maul, in his pain, his insanity, his fury, made himself a big ass. He has junk in his spider trunk. There's a lot going on there. Yeah, I mean, I think that there is some. Yes, we kind of we don't really care how he comes back because he's real cool. And oh my god, what you did with him, you deepened him. He's this fascinating, tragic, sassy figure. And for people like myself. Sometimes Kenobi could fade into the background for Clone Wars too much, and Satine brought him into focus, and Maul brought him into focus. When I was rewatching those Maul Clone Wars episodes, I was like, we get some really quality Kenobi time because of Maul. So I think that was another thing pulling for it. I think the other thing with the Clone Wars is if you were on board with the Clone Wars as it was airing, or if you rewatch it, or if you watch it for the first time, by the time you get to season 4, you've already been through Mortis. You've already been through weirdo Night Sister magic making Savage Opress buff. So it is a reach, but the show has already said, like, hey, remember Star Wars is not science fiction. You know, this is space fantasy with a heavy underlining of fantasy. Weird mystical crap goes here. And I think that eases his return.
Yeah. Absolutely. Weird mystical crap.
Yeah.
And Star Wars font.
And I think, the much debated and often maligned return of Palpatine is always kind of a shadow over these conversations about Maul. And I just do think it's very, very different. I think the means of their return work together thematically and are very similar. I just think it's a very different thing because of the difference between animation and films. I think Palpatine's return is complicated by the infamous Poe Dameron line, which I don't have a problem with, but I know a lot of people that's a deal breaker. And some people done with Star Wars because of that line. And also just like the very strong feelings about Rey, the resistance to Rey being connected to a bloodline. There's so much in Palpatine's return that is, there's other things going on there than just does the logic of his return work. And I think that's an important distinction between Maul and Palpatine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And yes, you and I can scream all day in bars about the Palpatine returns line. It's not about his return. It's about the reaction to the return. But I saw that popped up yesterday again on social media. I saw someone retweeting that. A multi-million-dollar screenwriter came up with this. Like, oh God, man.
It's a great emotional line from Poe. It is.
Yeah. It's not an answer. It's not supposed to be an answer, everybody. Yeah, but no, but everything about it is right. You're absolutely right. I look, and this is something that's easy to say, but if podcasting, Star Wars podcasting was then what it is now, and it was obviously present during the return of Maul, but if it was what it is now, I think you would have had a year or two of like, we wanted this, and it'd be some cool picture of Maul or Andor, and then but we got this, and it'd be Spider Butt Maul. Like, that would have been it for a year.
It is a different era. You're using wonderful words like weird, but at this point, I find myself really liking how they brought Maul back. I love making the spider leg and spider butt jokes, but it isn't something that I tolerate or forgive. At this point, I really like it. Like, good job, well done. I like it. How do you feel about it yourself as a fan? Are you still more in the like, I don't care how they did it, I care that he came back? Or are you challenged by it?
No, I'm not challenged by it as much. I definitely like that we get to, I think Dave McKay said, goat leg Maul, and then we get to where we all are now, where I kind of forget, he just got a nice band wrapped around him, and things work a little different for him. And I don't think about it often, but I don't stew on it. It's not even something I would say, it's not one of my favorite things, but I just think it is what it is because the why behind it. And the fact that he would choose to take on essentially the form of a creature that is insects they're misunderstood but feared, and there's so much going on. They're intricate. I mean, again, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm with you. Maybe not with as much excitement, but I'm with you. I don't even. It doesn't even the Maul coming back as that doesn't factor into a lot of my thoughts about Maul. I like where he is now. I like where they took him.
Yeah, I think I've come to love it because I think it fits the characters so well. I like that it's heightened and operatic, and like it is like some horrible thing out of a really dark Brothers Grimm fantasy of this horrible dark thing happened. A man hated so much that he kept himself alive with only half a body, and I think in the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. I think between Maul and the great Momin story in the Charles Soule Vader comics and Palpatine, I love that emerging story of like there are many paths through the dark side to cling unnaturally to life in a way that you shouldn't. That is unhealthy. I think it works really well with that, and yeah, the fact that it's junk and filth and that is what he thinks of himself up to a point really works too.
Love that.
Yeah. Love that. All right. We are going to get along to a quote, and it's like I sent the show rundown to Molly Damon, and she knew that I was about to say this name wrong. Molly says, just an FYI, I realize I've been saying the name of Matt M., the showrunner of Maul Shadow Lords, name wrong this entire time. It's pronounced Miknovitz. Great. I will try to memorize that. So thank you, Molly. There was a quote in this article from Matt Miknovitz about Maul's essential nature. Here is the quote. He says, he's this kind of tragic figure who is constantly doomed to repeat his mistakes. We have some empathy for him, but he's a bad figure. His moral judgment is not the best. He's determined to achieve his goals through whatever means necessary, manipulation, devious tactics, cruelty in some cases, but he's a survivor. Ken, why is Maul being a survivor, a hard luck case who keeps fighting? Why is that so compelling?
I think it rings true for a lot of folks. I think it absolutely rings true. There's been people in my life, present and past, who, through circumstances or, just experiences or perspectives might look at a character like Maul and be like, hey, knock it off, all you goody two shoes. That guy's surviving and doing it the way in which he can, comprehend and even think of a way forward and think of a way out of there. I got people in my life who are like, yeah, no, you know what's a great motivator? Anger. And you know what I like staying in? Anger. And I can sit there and say, well, what you should consider it. And they're going to be like, F off. This is me. I think there is some truth in Maul, and that's what makes him great. We know Star Wars is very much about good and evil, but I think that's very reductive to just boil it down over 50 years of storytelling to what it's playing with. I think it has always kind of said, yeah, these things are going to come up and tempt you. You will be in the desert with Satan, and Satan will say, this is yours if you want it, and you might want it. And we're here to kind of play in those shadows, literally now with Maul. So I think there's so many compelling things about him, and I really like you bringing in the off ramp phrasing of we all have choices. It's one of our things here. Destiny is the thing that brings you to the next choice. We love talking about that in Star Wars, and Maul's this great example. Great example. I look at him in the way I look at some of my other favorite characters, including Han Solo. You could have done better, Han. You could have done better, and I love you. And I love your cool jackets and your lines and your one-liners, but I'm taking more lessons from you later on in my life, and I think Maul is that for a lot of folks. But also, he might be just an inspiration for some folks who are like, "Hey, Dark Side has cookies and some good ideas."
Yeah, I think there's so much that's powerful about the idea of a survivor. I think Maul is such a great example of extremely heightened. Most of us are not satanic-looking Force users who murder however we choose. That's the exaggerated part of it. But the emotional core of who he is and what happened to him, I think, is very relatable. I mean, how many of us have friends or have ourselves been in this place where the system screws us and we are owed help and empathy for that? But then we also make really crappy choices. And you're like, oh man, hey buddy, you got screwed. Let me help you out. But then you did what? And you did that to yourself, and both things are true. That is what's so powerful to me. This figure, I think so many of us feel like survivors, where we did everything that we were told to do by a corrupt and broken system. We were legitimately good at what was asked of us, and we were still rejected. And then we are so pissed off, and we have legitimate anger at the system. But then we also make all sorts of destructive choices. And then we get in that place where we're like, I'm only going to focus on the part where the system screwed me, and I'm not going to think at all about the parts where I made bad choices that hurt myself. I think a lot of us wrestle with what Maul is going through, separating the legitimate fury at being screwed by a cruel and awful system versus screwing ourselves because life is hard and we make bad choices.
Yeah, I mean, once again, thanks for explaining my love of Stannis Baratheon and why I gravitate towards him and why I get bitter when I don't get invited to certain press events anymore when I used to. Yes, but I look at myself, what I did myself, and I think that's what Maul represents. That's what I think is going to be really interesting about the series going forward, is though, especially, I taking it to a very real world conversation. A lot of the folks in my life that I'm mentioning, like these are other groups. These are women. These are folks where the rage is earned, the rage is justified, and so that's why I just kind of don't want to jump in and be like, calm it down now. Like that ain't Maul comes up a lot with those folks in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see where this show goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it is really powerful. I think in some ways Maul is such a great Darksider to have his own show because the empathy is clear, but also the mistakes that he is making are also clear. So there's a sort of like, I like him, but I don't want to be him myself. So
but you do have the hat. You do have the hat.
I do have the hat. Yeah, I do have a hat. And Doc-san says, and I don't know if you're joking or being speak for yourself, Joseph. Yes, I try to be cautious about my phrasing, but yes, I do not mean to imply that all of us are out there having Maul experiences or behaving like Maul. I just think for myself, it is a relatable feeling to even go down those moments where you have, even if you're a Jedi, most of the time you can still have a Maul day. And I have known friends who it resonates with me personally because they have been screwed by the system and they make bad choices. And it's such a hard place to be in. It's such a hard thing to get out of. But again, yes, if you meant that seriously, you're right. I should be careful about the way I phrase things. Do not speak for others. Here is what Filoni had to say a little bit more about all this dark side stuff. Darkseid says, Filoni says, all of these evil things. Darkseid says, ding, 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 laundry. Filoni says, all of these evil things and all these selfish things scale. It starts out small and it seems petty, but it quickly becomes a fulfillment of desire. If you took something that gives you power, it makes you feel better than somebody else. It also makes you feel bad because somewhere inherently, you know it's wrong what you did. So in order to quash that feeling of remorse, you have to do it again and again to get the fix of thriving and gaining power and suppressing other people. And it becomes his way of being. And that's the dark side of the Force. This is great. George Lucas has spoken about the nature of the dark side of the Force. Filoni has. This is similar, but a slightly different spin on some of the ways that it's been talked about before. So, Ken, how do you feel about this analysis of the dark side, that it's a cycle of anger, guilt, and then anger again to cover up the guilt?
I love that look at it. I absolutely love that. And I think I've picked that up with Maul. I think there's real sadness in him. And those final moments in Kenobi's arms are full of sadness and relief, but even maybe the wrong kind of focus on it, right? I think Kenobi kind of knows that as he closes his eyes, but at least he got some sort of peace. I think there's some great truth of this that I hope is analyzed. I'm not expecting, we know Maul likes quiet tea moments, right, where he sits and has a chat with folks. I don't know if this is ever going to come out directly, but if the show's dealing with this kind of thing about it, it's a train that once it starts and leaves the station, it's hard to stop because it just kind of builds, it just kind of compounds, and that's one of the things I think. Not speaking for you completely, but I think you and I are in the same kind of spot on some of the stuff with Kylo Ren during the 7, 8, and 9, and particularly where he ends up of just like, I think he's wrestling with it from the beginning and maybe wants to turn back the entire time, but just feels he can't, and that is the destroy the past, kill it if you have to kind of thing. It's not a statement of Star Wars saying don't have legacy characters. It's a villainous character going, to erase the guilt, I must destroy where the guilt came from, and I think that's fascinating dark side angle.
Agreed. Doxun clarifies, no, it was a joke about how you said we're not all devil-looking half robot serial killers. Fair enough. Too. But thank you for still making sure that I check myself. Jeannie from Teenie, I think, has a great point as well. Pain can be a useful lesson. However, Maul does not allow himself to learn the lesson. He follows the anger, and it embitters him. Bitterness is just anger turned inwards towards ourselves. I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think I always want to be like very, very gentle about the way I talk about it because it gets into, real world stuff. But I think there is, the way Filoni is phrasing this, that there's a real depiction to me as the dark side as an addiction of, I think this will solve my problems. In fact, it's making my problems worse, but it's really hard to break away from. So I'll just keep trying to use this thing to solve my problems that isn't solving my problems. I think that is such a great portrait of Maul.
Absolutely is.
Ken, when you get into a sort of Maul-like system, a cycle where you are having a hard time getting out of either just the anger cycle or that choice isn't working for me, but I keep doing it. How do you break the Maul cycle in your own life when you have been successful?
I mean, yeah, you're asking a great question I've been dealing with in therapy for the last 8 to 9 weeks now, because I am actually changing some cycles. And you said something there too about you're looking, or maybe Jeannie said it as well. Yeah, but bitterness is just anger turned inward towards ourselves. Great statement there, Jeannie, because that's where I go with a lot of the stuff. Even my place and status in my career, not in terms of clout, but in terms of survival, money. And other people who I just absolutely despise are making a living off of doing the same thing I do, and doing it, I think, in the wrong way. And I can spin around that resentment. And at the end of the day, There's things I can do about it in my own life that have nothing to do with that, but have everything to do with how I want to go forward and changing things and learning lessons. And at the end of the day, for me, and what I would tell Maul if I was sitting down and having tea with him is how well can you let it all go while not in the Kylo Ren way. I think more in the Luke way of more of, the past is what makes you, and how do you go forward from here in the best way possible for you and yourself and your ideals. It's not just burying it all. It's going, you can't go back and change that. You can only build forward. How well can you do that is the question. I think that's kind of where I'm at, just in my own cycle. I'm having an okay time turning 50. I had less of a good time turning 40, which you remember, because you were one of the people I was like, you're there. What happens? I need to know what the other side of darkness, what happens? And this time around, as my eyes fail me more and I have a neck pain that's not going away, I'm definitely getting older. Like, I have less anxiety about it because I've learned the lessons that I actually accumulated over the years. I'm stopping and paying attention to them and going, all right, we can do something better going forward. So, Maul, if you would just sit down and go, yes, horrible things have happened to me. What can I do to control it? You can't control the other folks. You can't at all. And can you let that resentment go? It's hard, as we've discussed. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, no, but I really agree with you. I think as I get older, I become more and more aware of the various scars that make me who I am, both good and bad, and having like sort of an acceptance. I think there are times in life where it's just like, well, I acknowledge that bad thing happened to me, and I get that caused my behavior, and now I'm going to move on. And as I've gotten older, I can't move on. It's going to flare up. A crappy thing that happened to my childhood is going to flare up at a party, and nobody else will understand, why did he suddenly get weird? And it's on me to just know that those wounds walk with you, and you have a choice in the moment of acknowledging them and saying, I can't make that go away, but I want to be mindful of what actions I take based on it, and mindful of, this is why this comment that's entirely innocent from somebody else really pisses me off. And do I, like Maul, do I want to make things worse by getting angry and ruining this night when this poor person has no idea why that's really offensive to me? Or do I want to take a deep breath, and if it's somebody close to me, talk it through? Or if it's not somebody close to me, go home and work it through myself, but don't lash out at this person at a party. And I think some of that is just accepting that some of these things are with us all the time.
Yeah, it's the only time it's acceptable to lash out at people at a party is when they disparage Jar Jar Binks in front of us. That's the only time. Then I will lash out at you. I will lash out.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is, if Maul would stab me, but like the power of walking away from something and just going like, this doesn't serve me. I'm going to be real cryptic. There's a thing I have to deal with right now for business, and I have to, but I know it is not good for me. And sometimes I just like take a minute and like look at the sky and go, can't wait to walk away from this, because I know that is what is best for me. That will serve me. I don't need to be around this trigger. I will endure it while I have to, and I'll enjoy the day that I walk away from it. Walking away is beautiful when you can.
Yeah, I love that. This is turning into a therapy center, but this is also, this is one of the things we talked with this is a part of our discussion about Maul's return. And how I will not argue and not get grumpy at parties, but tell folks who want to be invested in Star Wars. To those who are just passing through, Maul came back. That's stupid. They cut him in half. Go on with your day. Go have some fun. That's not for you. Star Wars might be, but the granules discussion here is not. But Maul coming back, and the way they've handled Maul from the beginning, all the way through, stuff Filoni's saying here, stuff that Whitwer has said, both in interviews and on streams and everything, and his understanding of the character, like even Freddie Prinze in his famous Sisyphus thing that got a lot of people thinking about this stuff, like. He isn't just the cool badass anymore, and I'm excited to see a series that drills down on him and his experience, especially through the eyes of others, what more lessons will be there for us. It's why I love Book of Boba Fett. I know
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for everyone. The series itself is a little wonky, but it's one of my favorite series because of the questions it asks and uses this character, this blunt weapon of a bounty hunter killer that uses him to answer these very serious questions. I'm excited about this kind of stuff. I'm excited to dive in deep tomorrow and with you the rest of the season.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited to be going on this this big old Maul journey. And you're so right about Book of Boba Fett. So I asked my wife of like, hey, I'm gonna do a full Mando and Book of Boba Fett rewatch before the movie. Like, is that something I should go on myself? And she's like, absolutely not. we're rewatching everything together. And I was like, I want to watch all of Book of Boba Fett, not just that. She's like, oh yeah, of course. So,
yeah,
good. All right, we got one non-Maul story.
Yeah.
This is about the Mando and Grogu. Last week, the official Star Wars YouTube channel put out a fun little Mando and Grogu promo video with Jon Favreau, Sigourney Weaver, and Pedro Pascal, as well as Grogu, fully puppeteered. There's a little panel discussion and then lots of little behind-the-scenes clips that showed big sets and practical props and environment. And then there was one particular quote from Favreau that was really interesting to me. He said, because it's IMAX, because it's a movie, I wanted to recapture the feeling of when I first saw Star Wars. So when we're making this, we're using all the technology that's available. All that is to give a whole new audience that same feeling of excitement that I had the first time. So Ken, it's not 1977. Nobody's going to see the Star Destroyer come over your head again for the first time. But for you, what was the magic? I know you saw Return of the Jedi first. What was the magic of Star Wars in this day and age? How does a modern Star Wars story recapture what you felt when you saw Return of the Jedi?
Going back to the early days, I think it was this wonderful sense of being overwhelmed by the world I just fell into. So I will wax poetic and sometimes tell the story of looking at the back of my family's Subaru station wagon, blue, if you're keeping score, and looking up at the stars and wondering, oh my gosh, is this out there? That I wasn't inspired to, join NASA like others were. I know some of those folks were Star Wars or Star Trek, even more, of course, made you think, what is actually out there? Me, it was like, what stories are out there? Am I looking at a galaxy with a story? I'm 7 years old, and I just was overwhelmed in the most wonderful way of the characters and the sounds, and a little bit of the fighting and a little bit of the winning, and maybe I didn't understand fully what Luke Skywalker did when he threw down his lightsaber, but I knew he did good, and I knew good things had happened, and I just was pulled in by that. And though Mandalorian and Grogu was going to be smaller stakes, quote unquote, in terms of maybe no giant space station blowing up and this and that, but I think if I'm new, particularly if I'm younger, and I'm seeing this, I think that's what John is talking about, and that is the feeling I think that a lot of people might point at when they talk about New Hope. You and I both know friends who are of age when that movie came out, 12 or above, where it was this fully conscious experience. They weren't 7, 8, 6, 5. They were like, boom, no, I was 13 years old and my life changed when the Star Destroyer comes over. I don't believe that in all those, generally speaking, that they're not describing, and I couldn't believe how they pulled this off with a model. Certain people were inspired by that stuff, and the Lucas, ILM people were needed to. They pulled that off in the most inspiring way. But I think everyone I talk to about it or hear about it is this. Whoa, I'm in this, and I think what John's talking about is it's getting lost in a story that is bigger than your comprehension as you're starting.
Yeah, I love that being truly fully pulled into a different world. Yeah, my father's been telling me. I got to ask him more details, but yeah, I saw Star Wars in '78 during its re-release in a small town, very small at that time, in northern Minnesota in Brainerd, and he's been telling me lately, he's like, yeah, you were, I held you on my lap, and I couldn't believe you were entirely silent for 2 hours. It just it just captured you. It just entirely captured your imagination. And I think that's what it was long before I could appreciate truly anything about it. Is just, it was another world for my little mind to disappear into. And I think if kids of all ages can have that experience of disappearing into another world, that's the magic. And I think on a practical level, it's that unique combination of the world's got to be bizarre. It's got to be weird. It's got to be like you don't see this everywhere else, and that's harder these days than it was in 77 or 78 when I saw it. But if it's weird and incredibly emotionally grounded, right? Like I can imagine some 6, 7, 8-year-olds, their imaginations being fired and their emotions being fired if this does end up being a story of Grogu is separated from his dad, and him and his dad aren't going to be together forever. Childhood isn't going to last forever. What's that going to be like when childhood is over and your dad's still there, but maybe not anymore? I mean, that's some heavy shit for a kid. And if that can be delivered in a package that's full of weird, cool aliens and explosions, but the heart of it is, oh yeah, someday I'm going to have to stand on my own 2 feet and my parents aren't going to be there. Like,
yeah. Imagine being 11 or 12. Even now, we're not needing to go back to 77. Even now, with this world like it is, and just that realization we all have. Like you said, for me, it was the leap from like 6th to 7th grade, which was for me from elementary school to middle school. And a lot of folks are 6, 7, 8. I was 7th and 8th grade was my middle school. That was different campus, different thing. Like it's going to be like the movie Grease, the movie version of Grease. We're going to sing songs and get into fights and drag race. I don't know what's happening. I was so scared. And that's the moment too. You have the parents won't always be there kind of realizations. I think you're right. I think it could strike that kind of chord, especially in the world today when we're all craving community and support and love and connection.
Yeah. So I'll be really interested to hear from younger folks and their parents when this comes out. So the final thing, the teaser also was really, or not teaser, but a behind the scenes thing was really putting across a lot of talking points. The fact that Pedro Pascal is there on this roundtable and he talks about being on set and he talks about how he's seen the film and it's so great. We got Grogu's cuteness fully on display. We got really putting across that Sigourney Weaver is a big part of this film. It's really reinforced that the sets are practical and the whole film is described as a sense of wonder and fun, really hitting a lot of sort of talking points, which I think are good. Do you think those talking points will connect with the general audience in the way they're hoping?
I think so. I think so. I'm still cynical on the Star Wars heavy audience, those deep in the bubble, because this seems like a bunch of mission statements to put across the desk of those folks, right? Who are just like, oh, it's just season 4 of a show, and I understand where that comes from, and that's a question to have. But I think with John, what he's saying there, up above, and the quote you read there too, of like, yeah, we have all the technology that's available. Yep, absolutely. That means the volume. Yep, you've heard of it. You maybe have an opinion, but we know what we're doing. We know we're making a movie, and then to come back down and going, are you concerned about Pedro not being on set? He was on set. You know how cute Grogu is. You know how cute he is. It's not just for Molly Damon. Everyone thinks he's cute. And then the practical and everything. I'm having 2013, 14, 15 flashbacks with, BB-8 is always going to be a real robot. There's absolutely no computers used in this thing. I think they need that, but I think we'll see if it finds purchase with the Star Wars talking community.
Yeah, and good point that maybe these points are more for the Star Wars talking community. Yeah, I continue to think that just for me, says Molly Damon, the cuteness of Grogu is just for Molly. Yeah, I think that looking at the state of the way movies are going, I think it's great that they try to control the narrative as much as possible ahead of time, but I think this is just all about that opening weekend. I think a big audience is going to show up, and I don't like it, but we're in a headlines first society. So if the opening weekend, the film does well in terms of money, the cinema score, the ratings that people give on the way out, if that's high, that will translate to positive headlines. And then people will go, oh, I got to see that Mando and Grogu movie. And I think it really is all about, like, if it lands well the first weekend, it'll do okay on the second weekend.
Yeah. Shareholder value.
Yeah. And I mean, as we've said before, I'm there for the art. I only care about the business in terms of how it affects what comes next.
Yes, I very much agree with you on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is plenty of news and therapy for a Monday afternoon. So I think that wraps it up for us, Ken.
Yes, I did enjoy this comment from Maddie Mourner, our own Darth Maul. You may have an opinion about it that you took from a YouTube video. Let us talk about this. Yes. 4 out of 5 doctors agree. You've listened to the wrong YouTube channels. Yes, there we go. We're out of here. Some Star Wars news. As Joseph and I have said a few times, tomorrow we're recording. We're not live. We're recording our Maul Shadow Lord deep dive, which, as we announced at the top of the show, is called Maul in the Curse of Himself. The review will drop tomorrow in the afternoon, our time. So it might be evening time if you're on the East Coast. Make a little dinner, pour a little red wine, and hang out with us. Or just put scotch with ice cubes in it so you can piss off Maddie Gunner, apparently. That's coming tomorrow. But I always put ice. You got to melt just a little bit. Oh, okay.
Are we talking about blended, or are we talking
that's
about
a good question.
Single malt? Because there's a difference there.
Yeah, it might be. Anyways, hey, we're ForceCenter. You might be finding us now because we are talking about Maul and a new show, and there's some juice behind it. Come hang out with us every week. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. You can support us directly at Patreon, patreon.com/ForceCenter. From there, you get into our Discord. I do believe I have the Maul spoiler section up. I'll double check, but you can continue the conversation there with a great ForceCenter community full of wonderful ForceCenter friends. You can also get merch at TeePublic and Fourth Wall. Do all those wonderful things. Support us individually if you'd like. You can get to my Patreon, my shows, all the things on my website, KenNapzok.com. There's a link down below if you're watching on YouTube for Joseph's YouTube channel, where all his short films are dropping right now, and other cool things as well from you.
That is right. I got 3 new shorts, or newly released, that I put out recently, mostly horror, but there's also a weird cosmic dread comedy short with Phil Lamar, and of course the 22-minute short Nightmare Adorable that Ken has a nice juicy role in. I'm really trying to grow that channel. It really helped me a lot on my filmmaking adventures. So if you're already here on YouTube, go over, subscribe, check out those videos. It would help me out a ton.
Indeed. Also, sorry, super chat I left on the floor here. Mumbo Jimbo, the animation in this show is great. Rumors aside, if a full-length feature Star Wars film will be released in the theaters, would be your ideal project. Yeah, and there has been strong rumors for years that there is an animated movie in the works, and that could take a while. Whatever it is, I would like to find a specific time in the Star Wars timeline and focus on that for 2 hours. So the example I'll use is, if Game of Thrones is ever going to do Aegon's Conquest, which now there is something in the works, make that a movie. That doesn't need to be a series because it's well lived in lore, but I'd love to see it. That's what I'd love with the Star Wars animated film. High Republic could be something like that too, but that's where I go. You?
Yeah, I think there's so many stories that I want to tell, and I think for a full film release, right? Like I want to see Obi-Wan and Satine on the run from bounty hunters with Qui-Gon. I want to see a story where Obi-Wan and Anakin forge their blades that they have at the beginning of the Clone Wars. All sorts of stuff. I want to see the story of the Path. But honestly, if they were going to release something to the theater, I think right now something new would be great. So an adventure in the High Republic would be fantastic.
There you go. All right. And Maddie says, final shot, ice in your drinks. We don't do that nonsense here. Yeah, that is right. And you should do it more. We found that out the hard way when we were over there.
So warm. The fluids. Yeah.
Until you put ice in your beer, you don't know what you got, kids. We call it a Florida beer out here, and it is great. That is it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter tomorrow for our Maul review show. Bye, friends.